Okay, Jai Hind everyone. Myself Achintya Pandey, working as an assistant professor in Department of Information Technology at Ajay Kumar Garg Engineering College. So today I will discuss C++ function in object-oriented system design. Okay, so C++ just like language or implementations. So what is function mean? Okay, so to explore C++ functions. So what is function? So most of you will be knowing function is what? Function is a self-contained block of statement that perform coherent task of some kind, right? I mean, you can say this is just the module where you can write the code separately, okay? Like either C++ or in a C we can say everything is written in the function. Like either we write in the function main is a function also, main, okay? Okay, so we write all the code in the main. The main is the function, okay, and this is the system defined function like printf, scanf, all are functions. So there are code written. We can make user defined functions, okay, so there you can write separately code and you can call and all that, okay. So that's why we can define. It is a self-contained blocker statement that performs some kind of task. So function are used to provide modularity. I mean, different modules you can implement just by using functions. So function are used to provide modularity to a program. Creating an application using function makes it easier to understand, edit, checks, error, etc. Why it is easier? Because you cannot rewrite the same code, okay. If you put the code in a separate functions and wherever in the program you want to execute that code, you have to simply call the function, no need to rewrite that code. Otherwise you would have to rewrite the same code at different place where you want to execute, okay. So in C++, a function is a group of statement that is having a name and which can be called from some point of the program where we want to execute, to run that. So depending on whether a function is predefined, so the function could be predefined like main, like printf, like scanf, get cs and all, okay. This is predefined, the definitions are already there in the it is in the header file, okay. So that is called library function. We can make the function as by own, so that functions are called user defined functions. Oh, so there are some rules how we make. We have to declare the functions, that is called prototype. Then we call the function by just writing name followed by semicolon, okay. Then we have to define the code, okay. So this is the way. So just see, there are two category of, one is library defined library function and second one is user defined functions, okay. So this is the syntax of functions, okay. How we write a function? First we have to write the return type. Return type of the function means whether it integer, float, character or some user defined data structure. Then function name, then parameter. Parameters means how many arguments, what type of argument and all that. And this is the function body. Function body means whatever code you want to write, that you have to write here, okay. Okay, so the function declaration, like in variable which you want to use, first the variable has to be declared so that you can, compiler could know what the type and all that. Similarly, before using the function we have to declare the function, and that is called prototype. And in the prototype what we do, we have to mention the return type of the function, the name of the functions and the parameter, or you can say argument of the functions. So how many argument, their data type, okay, and all that. So in C++, function prototype is declaration of function without its body to give compiler information about user defined function, so that compiler could be known how many user defined functions are in the program and all. Okay. So this is just an example which depict the how the functions. So this is header file, this is function declaration. So by this way we can write, this is the name of the function, I mean user defined function which you are going to use in the function. This is the return type of the function, and this is the parameter. So we can see that in the function sum there are two parameters, and both parameters are of type integer x and y. Even you don't write here x and y, then it also be considered. Just by mentioning the data type, it is okay. So this is called function declarations. So how many function a program is going to use, you can see by the prototype declarations. Okay. So here what the function is going to, just by name you can see that this function is going to add two numbers, and both numbers are just passed as a parameter to this function. For example, suppose this is a equal to 10, b equal to 20, and this is called function calling. How a function gets called? Just by specifying the name of function and the argument. This is called actual argument. So we have passed a, that is 10, and b in the function sum. So this function, its definition which is written out of the function, out of the main. Okay. Okay. A function cannot be defined inside another functions. Okay. A function in C, a function has to be defined out of the main, out of the where it is called. Okay. So this is calling function. When this invokes, just called, the control jump to its definitions here. So a and b, a, this is the formal argument. So these value will be copied into the formal argument. X become 10 and y become, just copy the value of a and b in x and y. So return x plus y, x become 10, y become 20. So x plus y, 10 plus 20, that is 30, return. So when it return, again it goes from where it has been called. So here it will return, and that will collect in the variable C, and we can print here C out equal or print of C. So this is the way to write a simple code or anything. A code which you want to write inside a function, what are required? First you have to declare, then we have to define the functions. Okay. What are this code? This is the definitions. The code are written here, and how this code could be executed when you call this. Okay. Since its return type is integer, so you can make the call like the here. So when you call the function, its definition gets executed and things gets run. Declaring, defining and calling functions. Function declaration is again prototype. Defining means is code, and calling means how the code could get executed. Okay. So calling a function. Now this function calling, how do we call? Either by passing the value to the functions, or by passing the argument, or by passing the address of the variable or of the data which you want to pass. So function calling could be of two types. One is call by value, second is call by reference. In call by value, we simply pass the value of variable, okay, to the functions, and in call by reference, we pass just the address of the variable or address of the data which you want to pass to the function. For example, here, suppose another function calculate, okay, calc is here. So we have passed x here. So this is called call by value, because we have simply passed the value. So here we have passed 10. This this x becomes, or this x is called actual argument. In the definition, the parameter which we are using, that is called formal argument. So what formal argument? Simply copy the value of actual argument. Okay. So here x, or you can write y or z. So this will simply copy, here become x become 10, and now x equal to x plus 10, means x become 20. So if you want to print here x, okay, it will print 20. So after this, x become 20, and you can print of %dx. After calling this, x has been changed from 10 to 20. So this is called call by value, means when you pass the value of variable to the function, then this is called call by value. In the next example, we can say another example, call by reference. In call by reference, we just pass the address. For example, this is x, and so what we are passing? We are passing the address of x. For example, if it is x, I mean the value is 10, let's say its address is 1000. So here we are passing the address of x. Address of x means we are passing, if the x address is 1000, so we are passing simply 1000 here. Since we are passing the address, so formal argument must be the pointer. So that's why its declaration will be, whenever we pass the address, the formal argument must be pointer, because pointer can store the address. So since we are passing the address, so there will be a pointer, and here pointer is p, which is just going to store the address of x, that is 1000. So a logical connection could be established. Okay. So now we are just going to change by the value of x, like 20, from 10 to 20. How you can make? By using the pointer. So by this star p means asterisk p means the value at p. P is what? P is containing 1000. But when you write star p asterisk p, means value at p, value at 1000 is what? 10 plus 10. So this star p is 10, value at p means value at 1000, that is address. The value at 1000, 10, so 10 plus 10 becomes 20. So x has been changed now, and this becomes the 20. So whenever you are going to print, you can print here. Okay. So this x will be print 20. In the call by value, we have also manipulated the value from x to 10 just by passing the value, and here by the same we are doing by just point, by passing the address. So this is the way to pass or call functions. One is call by value and second one is call by reference. Further, there could be a different type of functions, function with no argument. A function can have no argument, it is okay. Function with no argument and a return value, it could be possible. Okay. There is no argument, but it is return, could be int float and all, even user defined data. Function with argument and no return value, yes, this is possible. Function with argument and return value. So there could be the case. No argument pass, you can see here, say prime number, there is no argument, no return type. It will calculate it will check the prime number. Okay. For example, here, this is the program which just check whether the number is prime or not. Okay. So this function has been called, its return type is void, not returning, not any argument. So this function is of no return, no argument. So just prime, we are just considering the number which you are going to check whether it is prime or not. So enter a positive number. For example, if you have entered 7, any number you can enter, it will store in num. It will just consider what is prime number, a number which is divisible by itself or just by 1, means from 2 to number minus 1. If it is not divisible, then and only it becomes the prime. So what will do, if num modulo I, if there is remainder, okay, if there is no remainder, this modulo operator is used for remainder. If there is no remainder, it means it is divisible. If it is divisible, then we just set the flag 1 and we come out from that loop. If flag become 1, because then it will become what? Non-prime. If flag 1, it is not a prime, else the number will be prime. For example, if it is 7, so we can see from 2 to 6, it is not divisible. Since it is not divisible, we have already set flag equal to 0 in starting, means that number will be what? Prime. But in case of say any number like 18, it will divide by 2 in itself, or 15, it will not divide by 2, but it will divide by 3. So, since it is divided, we have it is divided, flag becomes 1. If flag is 1, it is not prime. So that's why not prime. So this is the logic just to find the prime number. How to check the prime number? Another category of functions. So there are two categories. One is user defined or system defined, okay, predefined. Next one category is inline function. C++, we use some inline. Inline means we write the definition along with the function calling. For a small code, just by a single line code could make a function as an inline. So calling a function generally causes a certain overhead. Overhead means stacking argument. When you call the functions, there are certain overhead, like calculating the values, okay, yeah, passing the argument to the stacks, okay. Then the control should jump from calling point to the its definition point, then evaluating all those, and again return back to the point where the function gets called. It will take a considerable amount. So if the definition we could write along with just calling, then this overhead could be minimized. So just a very simple code, I mean just one line, you can make it as an inline function. So preceding a function declaration with the inline, we have to use the qualifier inline, okay. Specify, inform the compiler the inline expansion is preferred over the usual function. So inline function become just like as a, you know, kind of a macro, where you simply evaluate, not evaluate, just replace with its expansions, okay. So this doesn't change at all and all, right. So you can see the inline function like int max, this becomes the inline. So we have not defined anywhere, I mean suppose main is the functions, inline function we are going to use, okay. So what we are doing, we just simply call this max, okay, because here max 20, 10, see out, this is just a string, we have just called max 20, 10, and where is definitions, even here we have written the definition just by one line. What is there? We have just, sorry, this will not be here, okay. So here we are just making its declarations, okay. We are just in the declaration, we have just write the simple code. We are not writing this code out of the main, right. Just by declaration we have written the code. So if a function is very small, we can make it as an inline. So you can just compare this inline just with kind of macros. In macro, what we has defined max, say 20. So max become 20, or max is replaced with 20. Similarly here, this function is just replaced with this code, okay. So the cost of you know, jumping and evaluating and all will be reduced. It will simply replace. So what we will do, if x greater than y, so this become the maximum. If it is not, then it becomes maximum. So if you just pass, just call these functions, okay, I mean if we just call the function like this, so simply maximum will be 20, okay, and like this, okay. So this is inline function, means function code could be write in the line, in the same line as it is declared. Friend functions. What is friend functions? In C++, we have seen that private member are variables could be accessed, or data member could be accessed only by the function which is right inside the class. Suppose this is the class and this is say int A, int B and something, there is a function like fun. So only the member function means suppose this is the class A, so this is the function inside the class. So only member function has the authority to access the data member of that class. Only the member function. Member function means the function which are defined in the class. Okay. No any other function is allowed to access the data member of the class. But by making friend function, we can do up to the extent. Okay. So friend function can be made just by using the qualifier friend, and it is not the member function, although it is written in the class, in the same class where it is defined, but it is not the member function. Okay. So the class which you want to access, that can be made by friend function, other class also. So a friend function of a class is defined outside that class scope, although it is defined inside class, but since you have written friend means then it not become the member function, but it has the right to access all private and protected member of the class. Even the prototypes for friend function appear in the class definition. Friends are not member functions. Okay, a friend can be function template or like this. So this is another category of functions. Okay, like here class box. This is a class. We have width member, private member, then length public, friend void print width. This is the functions. Okay. So although it is inside the class box, but this is not the member function, but it has the authority to become familiar with some another class. Okay. So this is the way. This is a utility where you can do. Okay. So just by see here, we have a class B, class A, like this, and we have made a friend function add A comma B. Okay. So what is A? A is this int num A. A is class A. So in the friend function, generally we pass the objects, or you can say the class. So A is the same class and B is some different class. Means this friend could be have authority, and that friend, this add function could be just familiar with the A and B class also. Okay, because we have made this add function as a friend function. So this friend function can access the member of class A as well as class B, like this. Okay. So in this class A and B have declared add as a friend function, thus this function can access private data of both class. Otherwise, if it is not friend functions, and then it cannot access, because only the member function of a class can access the member of that class, not to other class. But if you want to make, I mean, like certain class members, you want to be accessed by other class functions, then that can be made just by making some function as a friend function to both are the class where you want. Okay. Okay. So here add functions. So by this way. Next category of functions are recursive functions. Recursive functions means what is recursion? Recursion is, if you can define something in terms of itself, then this become the recursion. Recursive function, when a function call itself, then this become the recursive function, like factorial. The factorial is a recursive function. For example, factorial n equal to n into factorial n minus 1. If it is, you want to calculate the factorial 5. So you can write 5 into factorial 4, right? So factorial has just called the factorial. There are so many, I mean, applications where recursive function are quite useful. Okay, so a function that call itself is known as recursive function, and this technique is known as recursion. For example, here the function recurs. In the definition of recurse, we have called recurse. Recurse I just called recurse. Then this category of function is called recursive function. Okay, like you can say this is the definition of recurse, and recurse has just called recurse. So this become recursive functions. Okay, this is some example. For example, just we have included factorial of, if you want to calculate the factorial, we have made a function like factorial. In a return type of factorial means what will the factorial value of the argument which you want to pass in the function. So for example, enter a number to find factorial. N is the user defined function, user defined data, and you want to calculate the factorial of n. Okay, so factorial of n equal to, you have just called factorial n. Okay, this is the functions. So we have just passed into the cout. So it goes here in the definition part, it will jump. So n is what? Whatever, suppose you want to find, enter a number to find factorial, say for example 5. So n becomes 5. So you call factorial 5. It goes here. So n becomes the 5. Simply copy. If n is greater than 1, yes, this is greater than 1. Then what we will do? If n is greater, return 1. No, sorry. If n is greater than 1, yes, it is return n into factorial n minus 1. Means 5 into factorial 4. This become 5. Okay. Again, factorial 4, same definition will again gets executed. Means the same function gets executed. So what will be the output? Factorial n, n becomes 4. So this will become now 4. Factorial 4. So what will be here? N. N means now n is 4 into factorial 3. Factorial 3. Okay. So again factorial 3 will be called, 3 into factorial 2, then 2 into factorial 1. So when 2 into factorial 1, when 1 will be called, and when the, this parameter become 1, okay, so this condition will not be satisfied because n is not greater than 1, n has become 1. So else part will be 1. So factorial 1 when, so this will be what? 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 and factorial 1. If n becomes 1, it will simply replace the value 1, and that is what the factorial. So factorial has just called the factorial. So this is called recursive functions. Function gets called same, that is called recursive. So this, so the by this we conclude our lecture. So we have just seen what is function, what type of a function are there, like user defined library function, then we have seen inline function, then we have seen friend function, then we have seen recursive function, and how the functions could be defined, that is prototype, call by value, call by reference, and all that. So thank you everyone.